Why is experiencing death on other planets said to be such a thrilling sensation? Just imagine. You step into the depths of Jupiter and are instantly torn to pieces by massive storms. Under the scorching heat of Venus, you would be burned to ashes within seconds. On the wastelands of Mars, you would suffocate from lack of oxygen, gradually losing consciousness in Neptune's frigid storms. You could turn into ice crystals within seconds. Such a death is anything but ordinary. Next, let me take you on a journey through the 8 planets of the solar system. Experience the most extreme and deadly planetary adventures you have never imagined. Feel the ultimate challenges they present. Let us start with Mercury. Standing on the sunlit side of Mercury, you will immediately feel an inescapable wave of heat, with temperatures soaring to 427 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. No atmosphere to shield you. The sun's radiation strikes the surface unfiltered, subjecting you to an almost lethal exposure. There is no air to breathe, and even heat can't transfer the way it does on Earth. Your skin will be instantly burned by ultraviolet rays. What follows is a pain so intense it almost drives you insane. Then your skin starts to blister, and your eyes, your tongue, even the moisture on your skin will rapidly evaporate. It is just like being exposed in a vacuum. There is no air and nothing to relieve this extreme heat. Your shadow is clearly visible on the ground, but the sky remains pitch black because there is no air to scatter sunlight. You have almost no time to adapt, as the high temperature and lack of oxygen will quickly overwhelm you. In just a few seconds, the insulation of your spacesuit can't withstand this heat wave. The cooling system will also fail immediately. All around you are grey rocks and craters, scorched and burning hot under the sun. It looks like a burning furnace, even though Mercury's gravity is only 38% of Earth's, making you feel light and weightless. The almost unbearable heat makes you feel so heavy you can barely move. Within seconds, breathing becomes extremely difficult and your vision starts to blur. You can barely even gasp for air, because there is no air at all. Your brain starts to run out of oxygen in less than 10 seconds. You will completely lose consciousness from asphyxiation and burns. However, if you stand on the dark side of Mercury, it is a whole different story. Without sunlight, the temperature suddenly drops to -179 degrees Celsius. This extreme temperature difference is a stark contrast to the scorching heat on the sunlit side. It is so cold that survival is simply impossible. Next, let us turn to Venus. This environment is often described as the place most similar to die. Venus has an exceptionally dense atmosphere. The surface pressure is 92 times that of Earth. That is equivalent to diving nearly a mile underwater on Earth. Even more frightening, the air is filled with a toxic mix of carbon dioxide and clouds of sulfuric acid. The surface temperature reaches 467 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead and zinc. Paradoxically, even though Venus is farther from the sun than Mercury, it is actually hotter than Mercury. Standing on Venus, the first things you would face are deadly heat and immense pressure. Sunlight filters through the thick clouds, turning into an unusual orange glow. You might catch a glimpse of barren rocky landscapes, but they would soon be swallowed by dense haze. The air is filled with carbon dioxide and nitrogen, with absolutely no oxygen, and it is extremely poisonous. The very moment you land, you will experience unprecedented torment. The immense pressure will instantly crush your body, as if a submarine were being crushed deep underwater. The air in your lungs and sinuses will be forced to compress. Your skin will quickly burn under the extreme heat, and moisture will evaporate. Organs begin to fail. Even more terrifying, Venus's atmosphere contains droplets of sulfuric acid, but strangely, you won't get soaked by acid rain because these acidic droplets evaporate before reaching the ground. This phenomenon is called virga. However, this brings you no comfort at all. The temperature around you is unbearably high. Metal will emit a dark red glow under this kind of heat. Your helmet visor will soon soften and melt. Any exposed skin will quickly become charred. You will be crushed and unable to move. Your knees will bend. Your body will be compressed. Your bones will break under the immense pressure. It will feel like there is an elephant pressing down on every inch of your body. Toxic substances in the air would burn your lungs from the inside. In less than a second, you would lose consciousness from lack of oxygen. Even if your body miraculously remained intact, it would still be dissolved and incinerated by Venus's high temperature, high pressure, and acidic environment. Venus's environment completely destroys all traces of human existence. Flying past Earth, this blue oasis, we arrive at Mars, the red planet, although it appears more attractive than Venus. But for unprotected humans, what awaits us is a silent and deadly end. Mars' atmosphere is extremely thin, only 1% of Earth's. It is mainly composed of carbon dioxide and is almost a vacuum. There is almost no oxygen here to breathe. The astonishingly low atmospheric pressure causes liquid water to instantly boil and evaporate. The temperature is also extremely cold on average. It is about -60 degrees Celsius at noon during the day. It might rise to 20 degrees Celsius, but once night falls, the temperature plummets to -140 degrees Celsius. If you are not wearing a spacesuit, standing on Mars' red sands, your first reaction would be to the hazy, iridescent sky. The distant horizon is covered by a layer of red dust because the air is thin. Even though there is wind on Mars, you can't hear any sound of it at all. But before long, a real crisis will arrive. You won't be able to take a single breath of air. When you open your mouth and try to breathe, you can't inhale anything because the atmospheric pressure is simply too low. The moisture on your tongue and in your lungs will start to boil rapidly. A cold, painless hissing sound comes from inside your body. Your skin will start to feel tight. Although you won't explode immediately, the liquid in ICSI starts to form bubbles in less than 10 seconds. Symptoms of hypoxia quickly appear. After that, you have only about 15 to 20 seconds of consciousness left. Meanwhile, your body begins to lose heat. The air on Mars is far too thin to effectively conduct heat. But because the moisture in your eyes and lungs evaporates rapidly, a strong cooling effect occurs. Your exposed skin quickly feels the onslaught of extreme cold. Your vision starts to blur, growing darker and darker because your brain is deprived of oxygen. You might feel a slight tingling sensation. That is what it feels like when the XG tube ruptures under pressure difference. Or you might taste a hint of rust in your mouth. That is the taste caused by the rupture of capillary XG. About 30 seconds later, you will lose consciousness due to severe hypoxia. A few seconds after that, you will quietly die. Mars' low pressure and extreme cold will cause yours to sublimate. Sky begins to boil. Body temperature drops rapidly. The frozen deserts of Mars would mummify your body, preserving it completely. Death on Mars means suffocation and your bodily fluids boiling. However, compared to being burned alive, this way of dying could almost be called peaceful. Perhaps in ancient times, Mars was once suitable for life. For anyone unprepared, it is nothing but a barren wasteland. Even the simplest breath would bring unbearable torment. Let us head out to the outer solar system. You might wonder what it is like to land on a gay giant. Falling into Jupiter is like plunging into a planetary abyss. Jupiter has no solid surface. Seen from space, its surface is nothing more than the tops of layered clouds. Entering Jupiter's atmosphere, you would instantly plunge into a world of raging storms and extreme pressure. At first, the upper atmosphere of Jupiter seems gentle. Orange, white, and red bands drift slowly beneath your feet. In the dim sunlight, you feel as if you are experiencing a brief moment of free fall. However, the good times do not last. Jupiter's gravity is more than 2.5 times that of Earth's. It will pull you downward at an ever-increasing speed. You begin to notice changes in the air around you. It gradually fills with hydrogen and nitrogen. Next, you will encounter unimaginable winds. Jet streams reaching speeds of 644 kilometers per hour sweep through the clouds. The violent winds toss you in every direction. Vast and intricate storm systems surround you. These storms are large enough to swallow the Earth. They loom in the thick atmosphere, barely visible. Perhaps you are plunging straight into Jupiter's great red spot. That is a superstorm that has lasted for centuries. It swirls around the planet's center. In this dim environment, lightning suddenly splits the sky. Jupiter's lightning is 3 times more powerful than Earth's. In just an instant, it illuminates the cloud-filled sky, but the thunder is drowned out by the deafening roar of strong winds and violent currents. You keep falling, the pressure relentlessly increasing. At a depth of about 48 kilometers, the pressure is already several times greater than on Earth. You continue to descend. The pressure will increase to dozens of times that on Earth. The temperature also begins to rise sharply. It climbs from -101 degrees Celsius in the upper clouds to temperatures far above boiling. As you fall, your body is subjected to unbearable pressure from both the heat and the force. You feel an overwhelming weight. The air becomes as dense as water, and you are right in the middle of it, no longer like a skydiver, but more like a deep-sea diver. At 10 to 20 atmospheres of pressure, the body starts to compress, the lungs collapse, and cavities like the sinuses and inner ears rupture under the immense pressure. As the gases become denser, your body is compressed even further. In the end, everything is engulfed in darkness. Sunlight can't reach such depths. The only light comes from the occasional flash of lightning and faint electrical glows in the distance. Bones begin to break under hundreds of atmospheres of pressure. The immense force of the storm keeps tearing your body apart. Eventually, the combination of pressure, high temperature, and mechanical stress vaporizes you. Your molecules have long since merged in Jupiter's vast atmosphere. Far away, you have not even touched any surface, and you have already disappeared. Just imagine. Even robots would struggle to survive on Jupiter. What chance would humans have? The Galileo probe once entered Jupiter's atmosphere, but it was quickly destroyed by the extreme pressure and heat there. For humans, other than being completely broken down inside the belly of the largest planet in the solar system, there is no way out. Our journey continues to Jupiter's little brother, Saturn. As you approach Saturn, it is impossible not to be captivated by its magnificent rings. Countless ice particles shimmer in the sunlight, forming a vast, banded structure around the planet. The sight is absolutely breathtaking, but beneath this beautiful exterior lies a deadly danger. Saturn is far from the sun. Enter this planet, and you will find it is an extremely cold world. The temperature at the cloud top drops to -178 degrees Celsius. If you enter Saturn's atmosphere, your fate will be similar to that on Jupiter. You would ultimately be crushed by the cold, dense haze of hydrogen and nitrogen. Yet the space around Saturn is just as unforgiving, almost as much as the planet itself. Saturn's rings are made up of fragments of water ice, ranging from tiny particles to rocks several meters across. These fragments hurtle around the planet at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. For someone unprotected, it would be like facing a storm of high-speed bullets and shells. Chunks of ice and rock in the rings flash and streak rapidly through the sky. At first, then larger, pebble-sized fragments strike with explosive force and instantly pierce your body. More debris follows, as ice and rock rain down on you like a storm. Fist-sized fragments could tear your limbs apart. Massive boulders might blow you to pieces. Within seconds, your body would be riddled with holes. Exposed to space, your blood would boil and freeze at the same time, scattered among the rings, instantly turning into sparkling, deep red ice crystals. Everything happens in an eerie silence. Because sound cannot travel in a vacuum, your remains continue to orbit along with the ice particles in Saturn's rings, eventually becoming part of them, forever vanishing into this cold and merciless expanse of space. The seventh planet, Uranus, is often called an ice giant, and for good reason. It has the coldest atmosphere in the solar system. Temperatures drop as low as 49 Kelvin, almost approaching absolute zero. Here, an unprotected human would freeze almost instantly. There is no oxygen in Uranus's atmosphere. It is mainly composed of hydrogen and nitrogen, with traces of methane, which gives the planet its blue-green color. Moreover, the clouds of Uranus may also contain ammonia and hydrogen sulfide. These gases are extremely toxic, although the cloud top pressure on Uranus is not as deadly as on Jupiter or Saturn. As you go deeper, the pressure will eventually surpass Earth's. However, these pressure issues do not really matter to you, because you would already be dead. The biggest killers on Uranus are the extreme cold and fierce winds. In some areas, wind speeds can reach up to 900 kilometers per hour. Imagine what kind of frozen blizzard made of DQ that would be. When you enter the upper atmosphere of Uranus, sunlight is almost invisible. The sun is just a distant speck of light. You are shrouded in pale blue twilight as the temperature drops rapidly. The moisture in your eyes, nose, and mouth immediately begins to freeze. A thin layer of frost quickly forms on the inside of your helmet visor. Inhaling a breath of the planet's air is almost fatal. Your body begins to convulse from lack of oxygen and poisoning. Within seconds, you lose consciousness. If you miraculously hold on for a moment, the piercing cold will quickly penetrate your body, bringing unbearable pain. You would die in less than a minute. Your body keeps falling until the increasing pressure crushes you into countless cold fragments. The extreme environment of Uranus swallows you whole in an instant, leaving no trace. Imagine your body being revived, ready for yet another descent. This time, we have arrived at the edge of the solar system, Neptune. This beautiful blue giant has the most violent weather in the solar system. The atmosphere is extremely cold. The temperature is only slightly higher than Uranus. At the cloud tops, it is only about 55 Kelvin. Wind speeds reach up to 2,100 kilometers per hour, making them the fastest sustained winds in the solar system. For an unprotected human, this would mean a swift, brutal, and disorienting death. Far from the sun, there is almost no light. The entire world is shrouded in eternal, dusky twilight, nearly complete darkness. As you enter Neptune's upper atmosphere, you might even witness some massive storm systems, like the Great Dark Spot once observed by Voyager 2. The moment you enter, you are swallowed by a terrifying storm. The thin upper air quickly becomes dense. Supersonic winds hit you with full force, with wind speeds exceeding the speed of sound. The air itself becomes a sandblasting weapon. Tiny frozen methane particles turn into sharp shrapnel. Shredding everything, you are tossed around like a rag doll, thrown by the force of the storm, losing your sense of direction in the relentless spin, completely unable to control yourself. The cold pierces your skin mercilessly, but the wounds from the wind may be even more terrifying than the chill. The upper atmosphere of Neptune, although the pressure is not immediately fatal, you might last a few seconds longer than you would on Jupiter, but the brutal environment soon ends everything. A few seconds later, any protection would be destroyed. Bare skin would be exposed to supersonic freezing air. Your skin would be torn apart, flesh frozen, and methane crystals would scrape down to the bone. Eventually, your remains would be broken down by Neptune's endless storms. You would completely disappear in this barren land. After a long journey through the solar system, after surviving countless deadly environments, we finally return to the only place that welcomes us. Compared to the deadly and extreme conditions on other planets, Earth suddenly feels like a gentle, safe haven. Yes, Earth is the perfect habitat for human life. Its atmosphere provides the ideal pressure, a perfect blend of oxygen and nitrogen, and a suitable temperature and climate. We have liquid water that does not boil instantly. The ozone layer protects us from the sun's radiation. Most of the time, temperatures stay within a range humans can tolerate. Standing on the surface of the Earth, bathed in warm sunlight and under a blue sky, you can take a deep breath and enjoy every moment of peace and tranquility. It is worth noting that, on every planet we have visited in this thought experiment, death comes almost instantly. Yet on Earth, life not only survives but thrives. This contrast is both astonishing and humbling.